Hi guys, I want to welcome you to Amelia Island TV and to another episode of the Deonas Show. We're here today with Shane Johns, who is owner and counselor of Anchored Christian Counseling. Shane, tell us a little bit about what Anchored Christian Counseling is.
Well, I appreciate you having me on the show today, Nick. Anchored Christian Counseling is distinctly Christian counseling, and to put it in simple terms, I just help normal people work through various issues in their life. Some of those are severe issues, some of those are normal, everyday, run-of-the-mill issues. And Christian counseling is just simply using the foundation of God's Word to help people work through those issues through simple, practical, and effective conversation.
Now, you're originally from Jacksonville.
I'm originally from Jacksonville, born and raised in the west side of town.
You were on staff, I think, at First Baptist Church in Jacksonville.
That was my home church growing up, and once we came back from Texas, the Lord called us back to serve as the high school pastor at First Baptist Jacksonville, and that's where I was for almost 10 years. Until February of this year, when my wife and I stepped away from our staff positions, and He led us to start this Christian counseling practice.
And I guess your wife is in business with you.
Yeah, she's the brains behind the business.
I was hoping you would say that.
And that's the truth.
Because that's the truth. That's
It
right.
really is.
Yeah, believe me, I've been married going on 54 years. I know that's the truth. Shane, let's talk a little bit about the services that you provide. I mean, I know that, to say that everybody has a problem, I guess is a very safe statement to say. We do from time to time. But, they come to you with a problem or with something that's on their heart, and they're looking for advice, I guess. What are some of the services that you provide?
Well, it really is a wide range, working with children all the way to people more advanced in years, and they come with a wide range of issues. A lot of the common ones are things like anxiety and depression and panic and things like that, and they're looking for help that, for whatever reason, maybe their therapeutic approach has not been helpful for them, and so they're looking for something different. A lot of times it's parents who are kind of at their wits' end with their children or their young adolescents who are just struggling with life, and sometimes it's things like depression and anxiety even in children and teenagers. And so I also do marriage counseling, premarital counseling. Right now, one of my biggest and probably most rewarding categories to work with are women with eating disorders. And that is a very underrepresented group in the mental health world. There's just not a whole lot of treatment options for anybody who's struggling with any range of an eating disorder. And so because of that and my connections with some other organizations, that seems to be a area that's picking up. And so that's primarily, what I'm working with, children all the way to senior citizens, and it just depends on what they might be presenting. It might be grief, it might be depression, it might be other things that, life circumstances that have changed, and they just need simple help with trying to work through some of their daily struggles with, what's happening in our world with society and the pandemic.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the pandemic and the, quarantine and people. I mean, because I'm old and I've never seen anything like this. And I know it's taken a toll on a lot of people, and families. Mm-hmm. Are you beginning to see, people struggle? They're struggling through this.
Yes.
And I don't know what the answer is, but.
Well, I think it's safe to say that mental health is at an all-time low. And before the pandemic, people were able to hide behind their routines and the comfort of their jobs and their schools and there was a lot of distractions in life. And then once the pandemic hit, it's interesting how a microscopic virus has really impacted the world in such a almost cataclysmic way, because now that people don't have those normal escapes and they don't have their normal routines, they're really alone with their thoughts and with their difficulties, and they don't have a whole lot of human interaction. And what that's doing is exposing all kinds of fault lines, not only in their mental health, but just in their relationships, with people, in their relationships with the Lord. And so, yes, mental health is kind of, I guess, booming, as you would say, because people are finally coming to grips with, okay, I need some help. Something's not right here, and I just can't shake this, and I need some help. And so that's a lot of what we see, is that the pandemic is really exposing a lot of those weaknesses or fault lines in people's lives, and we're making them make sense of that.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that I've noticed, and I watch a lot of television and news, maybe I shouldn't, maybe that's wrong, maybe I need to turn that off for a while, but I've noticed here in the last week or 10 days where they're talking about the holidays coming up. And I mean, let's face it, Thanksgiving's right around the corner. We're just a few days away from Thanksgiving. Right. And now they're talking about not traveling, not being in a group. Maybe you don't want to meet and have a big family gathering. And I was thinking, here with Christmas and here with Thanksgiving, people need counseling and guidance more today than they've ever needed, or at least in my memory. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's going to slow down. I think it's only going to increase. And I mean, just like this pandemic, we don't know how much longer this is going to go on. It could go on another year or two. I hope not. I hope it's over this afternoon, but I don't think it will be. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there are a lot of misconceptions for why people need counseling or seek counseling. And I think one of those misconceptions is people feel like, well, they have to have some kind of psychological issue. And that's really not the case. Counseling, whether you call it counseling or therapy, it's much broader than that. Sure, there are people with real mental health issues and real mental illness that need the help of medical professionals in addition to therapists and counselors. But counseling, at least Christian counseling that is distinctly Christian, is more about having conversations with people and helping them uncover and untangle and work through the various issues in their life. And the truth of the matter is most of us can benefit from some counsel or another. I think another misconception or caricature of those who need counseling is that somehow only the weak and broken need counseling. And truth of the matter is we all put up facades. It's facades of control, facades of strength, facades of knowledge. And if we admit it and take a close look on the inside, we all have various issues that we're trying to compensate for. And so counseling isn't just for the broken and for the weak. In fact, I would say that those individuals who are brave enough to expose themselves to wise and inquisitive counsel allow themselves to be pushed and taught and grow in a way that makes them stronger than the average person who, let's just say, refuses to acknowledge any issues in their life and refuses to go seek help. So a lot of times it's those who are actually getting counsel who are the ones who are the healthiest and the ones who are better equipped to deal with the difficulties like the pandemic or like the quarantine that has come as a result. And sure, the holidays bring all kinds of mixed emotions, even if we didn't have the quarantine to deal with. Many people go into the holidays and they're surrounded by family members that they only see once a year or every now and then, and that is associated with sometimes pain and hurt from distant past when whatever's happened in their childhood. And so Thanksgiving and Christmas isn't always a happy time for people, and sometimes it's surrounded by depression and hurt and the reminders of the past. And for others, they look around and they see loved ones who are no longer there because they have passed away. And that brings a whole different level of pain associated with the holidays, because now they're experiencing what should be a joyous time of giving or Thanksgiving, and they have to deal with the pain of loss. And so, yes, the holidays aren't always, nice and happy and sunshine and rainbows. And so I'm hoping that people who are watching this will say, okay, well, maybe I need some help. And if it's not Anchored Christian Counseling, find somebody that can help them work through these issues. There's no reason for people to suffer in silence when help is available.
I was talking with some friends here not too long ago, and it seems to me like you say, when we talk about marriage counseling, couples today, I don't know, you just see so much divorce going on, or, you see people maybe living together and not getting married for whatever reason. But are you seeing a lot of that, marriage counseling?
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of issues that come up. I mean, even with the quarantine, there's a talking about fault lines in relationships. When you're stuck in the same house and you don't have any type of escape, and there's little ones running around, it's really easy for that stress to really make those small cracks turn into
manifest itself into a monster.
Exactly. And so, that is a major issue, regardless of the age of the marriage, whether they've been married a few years or, a few decades. Those types of difficulties are pretty common. However, there are individuals that come to grips with the fact that, okay, maybe their marriage isn't as strong as they thought, and let's see if we can go get some help. And oftentimes it's just a practical approach, talking about things like communication and conflict resolution, and those are two of the biggest things that are the issues in most relationships. And those kind of reach into other areas like the sexual relationship, or how they handle their off time or their hobby or their recreational time together. But really, marriage counseling is often about helping people unpack and deal with their old habits that they're bringing in from their nuclear families, and how those poor patterns of behavior and communication kind of get compounded in a new relationship. And so we have to help people learn old and ineffective ways of communication and help them learn more effective ways, and specifically how to deal with conflict as it arises. Of course, that's also tied to the communication itself.
Right. Shane, if you had a piece of advice for those today who are, the elephant in the room is the pandemic, I guess. If you had a piece of advice for our viewers, what would it be? What would you suggest to help get through this mess?
Well, I think the first thing is we have to come to grips with the facade of control in our lives. We operate as if we have control over little things, but yet when weather changes, it'll affect our plans. When a little microscopic virus hits the world and brings the world to its knees, we realize that this sense of control that we had is really a very thin facade. And that facade, I think, has come crumbling down. And so the advice is, I think we have to come to grips with the fact that we aren't in control of things, and that we have to learn how to move away from white knuckling, whether it's our plans or our schedules or our families or our work or our school, whatever the case may be, and learn to have more of an open grip and allow God to move more in our lives. Because ultimately, this sense of control means that we are exerting that type of control over our life as well, and that has a tendency to displace Christ in our life. And when Christ becomes de-centered or moves off center, then that creates wobble, in the same way that, for those of us who grew up riding bicycles around the neighborhood, when you hit that curb too hard and it causes the bicycle wheel to warp, well, that creates a lot of wobble when you're riding your bicycle. And the same thing is true with life. The more that Jesus moves away from the center, the more wobble or the more, reverberations happen, and it causes difficulty. And I think those difficulties lead to greater fault lines, and, a lot of people find themselves in, bouts of depression and anxiety and panic and all those things because now they realize, I really don't have control, and that's kind of scary for a lot of people.
So I guess the old saying, every day is a surprise.
It really is.
You don't know what it's going to bring.
Yep.
Shane, when we talk about counseling, what is the difference between just regular counseling with a counselor and Christian counseling?
I would describe it as distinctly Christian, and that means not using the word Christian as just a simple label to expand clientele. I believe that true life transformation comes through our relationship with Jesus Christ and understanding of His Word. Now, if someone doesn't necessarily come from that background, I would still love the opportunity to be able to help them. I still offer all kinds of services for them as well. But it's important to understand that coming into this counseling practice, it is distinct from regular counseling. I don't adhere to any particular secular therapeutic approach. Instead, I use practical counseling skills and biblical understanding of our lives and our issues to help people untangle and make sense of their problems. And when there are medical issues involved, part of what I do is to partner with the medical professionals to help individuals make sense of what's going on in their body physiologically through the partnership with their own personal medical professionals.
What if someone's maybe not a believer or not a Christian? They can still contact you, and how would they go about doing that, and what's the process?
Absolutely. I'd love to have the opportunity to work with anybody who is not a Christian. They just need to know that I come from a distinctly Christian background, and that's the foundation that's the foundation of the counseling that I offer. And they would get in touch just like anybody else through the website, anchoredchristiancounseling.com, and I offer a free consultation. So if there's any questions about whether or not we would be a good fit, that free 15-minute consultation usually is enough time to be able to answer some main questions and for that individual to determine, okay, I think it'll be a good fit for me to start counseling with him.
Okay, and that's a telephone
Yeah, we can do telephone. We can do telephone, but I also offer telehealth as well. The pandemic has opened up opportunities for counseling to happen via the internet. So most people these days have had some type of conference with a doctor and via teleconference, and so it's really the same. Yes, person to person is better, but yet it's still very effective to be able to do it via video conference.
So see, we are in a life of change.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. Shane, I really want to thank you for being with us today, and I know I've learned a lot about your practice, and I now have a different view on counseling, and you may see me one day, who knows. But thank you so much for being with us today and giving us this information. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed this session. I hope you got something out of this with Shane Johns and Anchored Christian Counseling. It's right here on Amelia Island on Sadler Road. We all are looking for answers, every one of us. So don't be afraid to ask for help. So until next time, thank you for viewing, and on behalf of Amelia Island TV and the Nick Deonas Show, God bless.